This episode of the TV Binges Pilot Roundtable is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Hello and welcome back to the TVBinges.com Pilot Roundtable, a Southgate Media Group podcast. I'm Kyle Tremblay, the editor of TVBinges.com, and I am joined as always by a fellow TV Binges writer. She's writing a script for her new drama, Chicago Podcaster. It's Olivia Richards! Hello!
Hey, it's exactly what I'm doing right now, taking some time off of that.
You gotta get on that bus to Chicago.
I think we need a fourth or fifth installment, so I'm proud to be the one who's doing it.
That's where the TV money is. Okay, the finish line is now in sight. We're rounding the final turn of this giant race that has been previewing every single broadcast network show coming this year.
And we're going for gold.
Yeah, we are. We are definitely going for gold. We're in the Olympic spirit, which is fitting because the network that's televising the Olympics is NBC, and that's, of course, our subject today. So, starting with the dramas. Our first one is a name that is surely familiar to people who have watched TV and maybe enjoy procedurals. It is a spin-off of the popular show The Blacklist. It stars Ryan Eggold and Famke Janssen as two criminals who get to work stopping criminals, and it's called The Blacklist Redemption. What do you think about this one, Olivia?
Well, we're getting it.
Yeah, we are. It's happened. It's a fact.
I saw the trailer, and I guess if you're a fan of The Blacklist and you want something else to go along with it, that's great. But do we need this? Is this necessary?
Well, I think the answer to that is a resounding no. Will people watch it, I think, is the interesting question. Because my long-standing theory, which I believe I espoused on this here podcast a couple years ago when The Blacklist premiered, is that everyone is watching this show because of James Spader. That's why, it's a generic procedural, it's not much different than a lot of other shows. The difference is that James Spader is chewing scenery like some kind of, world-devouring monster. And that everyone enjoys the James Spader performance. It's kind of like what I was talking about with the Fox one, where, Hugh Laurie is what separates House from other, medical dramas, and that the central performance is so important to a procedural. And so, we're going to test that directly here. Because The Blacklist is a very popular show. This show does not star James Spader. And we're going to see how much of The Blacklist's viewership is tied to that lead performance and how much of it is due to the premise of the show, which this, of course, adopts and it occurs in the same world as. So I'm excited for this one, not because I have any interest in ever watching it, but because it's a very interesting experiment regarding some thoughts that I've had about TV for a while now.
And that's interesting because I feel like this reminds me of what we just talked about with the Fox pilot for 24, in that basically the staple of that show has been Kiefer Sutherland. So can the spinoff show exist without that central character? A show that essentially functions purely because this character exists and carries the show essentially on his shoulders. Will this spinoff actually be able to, like you said, actually just sustain itself purely on its own plot?
That's a great point. I mean, we've got two shows now that are spin-offs of modern television shows. In both cases, I mean, the Blacklist and 24 aired last year, the original versions of them. 24 was a reboot of course, the one that aired a while back. But still, it's we can compare ratings now. These are shows that are basically identical in premise, identical in setting, occur in the same universe as popular modern shows. And the only element we're changing is the lead. And so let's see how that goes. Let's see how that goes. I'm just very interested to see, and I feel like it's very informative. But as far as being interested in this show for what it is, absolutely not.
Nope.
So it's a thumbs down for me.
I think it's clear. It's a thumb down for me too.
What do we got next?
So next, it's the script I'm working on for Chicago Justice, which is the fourth prong of NBC's Chicago franchise. And this round, we're focusing on prosecutors in the state's attorney office.
We're just really covering the city of Chicago now. We are just Chicago everything.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I like that as far as like spin-offs go. Chicago went in the direction of different show, same setting, as opposed to same show, different setting. In other words, like CSI went CSI Miami. They took the CSI thing and they moved it to Miami, and then they went CSI New York and blah, blah, blah. Chicago's going the opposite direction. Everything is in Chicago. It's just different parts of the city. Like Chicago Fire, Chicago Med, Chicago PD, Chicago Law, Chicago Justice is what it's called.
Chicago everything.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to the next one, Chicago Hot Dog Stand. I'm really excited for Chicago Cashier. You know, like how deep does this rabbit hole go?
Don't jinx it.
Yeah.
You're not going to give them ideas.
Yeah.
Be free.
This is also like the easiest one to preview because if you watch the other 3 shows in the line of Chicago products, I feel like there's a pretty good chance you're going to like this one. And if you don't, I feel like there's a pretty good chance you won't.
And that's exactly it. I mean, I watched the trailer and it's about as generic as you can possibly get. I don't actually remember anything that happens in it, but I know it covered every procedural trope that you can possibly have throughout, you know, the like minute and a half that it was on. Yeah,
that's about it. I mean, literally the only selling point is this Chicago takeover they're doing. Where everything, I don't even know what Chicago implies, by the way. Like, the city of Chicago, great city. My dear friend and podcasting partner Blair is from there and lives there. If it was called Alaska Detective or whatever, like, I would get it. Like, okay, that gives me, like, a sense of, like, even, like, Minnesota or, like, you know, like El Paso or something, like, that would give me a sense of place. Like, Chicago is a vibrant American city, no doubt, but, like, if it was called, like, New York Justice, Chicago Justice, Los Angeles Justice, like, fundamentally as a show, what does that do for me? Like, I don't even get what the brand is other than the word Chicago.
I don't understand it at all, but
yeah,
we're getting a fourth one, so Here it is.
We're building that setup. Thumbs down, obviously.
Yeah, that's a given.
Okay, well now we're going to start to get weird here. We've had 2 pretty standard offerings. It's about to get weird with a reimagining of The Wizard of Oz, starring Adria Arjona as Dorothy and Vincent D'Onofrio as the Wizard. I could not find a trailer for this show, but it's called Emerald City. I tried to track it down, and apparently NBC decided that only 3 of their shows needed actual trailers, which is a little bit weird. I'm a little bit not sure about what happened there. Hey, NBC, what's going on? Because every other network has trailers for most of their shows published online in an official YouTube account, which makes, you know, like, promotion and sharing easy. Makes it easy for people like us to talk about and maybe promote your trailers. NBC has 3 of their 500 shows with trailers, and the rest of them you have to find, like, bootleg copies of. What's going on, NBC? And even that, it's like, most of the sites took it down due to copyright infringement, so that was like... Yeah, this one not apparently... a great sign. Apparently this one, they were saving it for Comic-Con, apparently, and it premiered there. But then they, took down, like, vigilantly took down anyone who dared to post it. It's like, oh, well, I'm glad that you don't want anyone, like, help getting excited. Heaven forbid someone gets excited about your show, NBC. Sorry about that. But what we do know is that this is a series from Tarsim Singh, who's, like, known as a visual stylist. And from the previews, it does appear to have a very distinct and sort of striking visual style to it, is about the only thing I got. Which I'm really excited about, and I feel like this would have been a really good show to have a trailer for, because I feel like they're going for something really, really cool that, like, I think... Once Upon a Time had kind of touched on The Wizard of Oz, but I like that they're doing a show that purely focuses on this story, because, I mean, everyone has seen the movie.
So I like when storytellers will then take something that we all are familiar with and put kind of a cool twist on it. And then I was also looking up some of the details about the show, and I do like that the Wicked Witch is actually played by a woman of color, and I forget the actress's name, but I think, again, this just goes along with a lot of the networks now really fully embracing the need for diversity and representation on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. This seems like a very diverse show, again, based on like the 5 screenshots that NBC has dared to release. I'm very interested about what this is going to be, because I what you were saying about like remakes and adding a twist to them, I think is really good, and I think specifically an underutilized twist is making it really visually interesting. Mm-hmm. I really like the idea of bringing in someone who's got a really distinct visual style and changing the whole palette of the property. And I don't feel like that's done enough. I think too often we sort of settle for bland visuals and focus on like story changes and all that. Like sometimes you just want to look at something that's pretty, and I think Wizard of Oz is actually a great sort of world to get that treatment. You know, it's a very like fantastical kind of place. I'm somewhat excited about this one. I probably would be more excited if I actually saw moving pictures from it. It would have been great to see a real trailer, but I'm going to give this a tentative thumbs up just because I'm interested in seeing what it's all about.
I'm definitely on board with that. This is definitely something that falls right into my wheelhouse. This is going to be a big thumbs up for me.
This seems like your kind of show.
That's an understatement.
So what do we got next?
So next we have Midnight Texas. So it's based on a series of novels by Charlaine Harris, who wrote True Blood, and the show is set in a small Texas town where everyday life and the supernatural bump up against each other. Once again, we don't have a trailer for this.
Yeah, I found like a bootlegged one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I like dug around everywhere and I couldn't come up with anything.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, I watched all the episodes of True Blood. Don't ask why. But a big reason for that show's success is that it was on HBO and it could really push it with regards to violence and questionable content. And I feel like applying the True Blood sort of aesthetic to a network show is probably going to end badly, because I think you're going to get a lot of like sort of dulled down versions of that with this. So there was some like fairly creepy stuff in this trailer. It reminded me a lot of the podcast Welcome to Night Vale, which is one of my favorites. But it didn't quite like grab me. Like the trailer is sort of like, it looks kind of TV scary. It'll probably have some decent stuff in it, but I'm not too sure how excited I am.
Yeah, I mean, just reading the description, and I'm generally in for anything that involves the supernatural in any capacity, right. So I'm excited for that. I was also a huge fan of the Borgia, so it's nice to see Francois Arnault back on TV, so I'm excited to see him in kind of a leading role again. And then I'm also reading that it actually came from one of the Mr. Robot directors. So I kind of want to see what he's able to add to the style of this show. So I'm definitely at least in to see the first episode and just see what the atmosphere is like and what they can kind of establish for as long as it is on.
Yeah, I mean, it could certainly be interesting. I don't know. I might be putting too much stock in the True Blood thing. That's really what has me reserved about this one, is that I feel like, I mean, True Blood fell off a cliff as a show and really like went badly, but also like the only reason it was ever afloat in the first place is stuff that will not be a part of this show because it's on network television, and so I'm really like skeptical about how that's going to happen. But this is a whole different world, whole different universe, could be very different. True Blood was a few years back, so I'm going to give it a tentative thumbs down, but I don't feel strongly about it.
Yeah, I think for me it's going to be like a thumb sideways. I at least just want to see something from this.
Olivia, I have one question for you.
Yes.
Are you ready for Liam Neeson's without the Liam Neesons?
I was born ready.
Yes, because we have reached a show called Taken. And if you know Taken, it's the series of movies starring Liam Neeson's that has now been converted to the small screen. Like, just a couple years after it was released in theaters. And the plot of the show appears to be that a man, his daughter is kidnapped, and he has to get her back. So, pretty much Taken.
So, if you missed the movie after I think 3 or 4 of them came out and you want another installment, then this show is for you.
Yeah, this already feels like the sort of like black market knockoff of Taken. Like it's the I forget what the Pacific Rim was called, but it was called like Atlantic Rim.
Oh god.
It's like that. You know, it's like the version they try to sucker you into buying for $5, the super low budget version of like a blockbuster movie. This already feels like that. I mean, it's just why? Why is this happening?
And I feel like it's an ever-growing list now of adaptations of already successful franchises. And I get it. Like, I understand if you have something successful, obviously you want to milk it for all it's worth. But no. Just you need to stop. And
this is what we were saying with Emerald City, where that's interesting because they've done something that appears to be very different with the visuals. Like, give me something in this that differentiates this from the 3 movies called Taken. You know, the idea of like stretching it out over 12 episodes or whatever could not be less interesting to me. I'll just watch the movies; they'll be over quicker. Give me something about the visual style. Give me something about the casting. Some twist. Give me something to work with. Don't just like remake Taken as a TV show. That seems like a recipe for failure. So that's my thought. It's a thumbs down for me.
Yeah, exactly. I am not taken with this.
Oh.
So no, it's going to be a big thumbs down.
Are you taken with our next show?
Oh my god, you have no idea.
I knew it.
This is basically like my big seal of approval.
Yeah.
So the show is This Is Us, which based on the 7 million views that the trailer got on YouTube, everyone is kind of on board with what's happening. So it's basically a dramedy about a group of people whose lives cross paths and intertwine, in part because some characters actually share a birthday.
Yeah. I mean, the sort of birthday premise seems really stretched, but you watch this trailer, one of the 3 that NBC actually posted, and you just get a sense like, oh, this is NBC's like the crown jewel of their lineup. Like this is where all the money went. This is where all the promotion is going to go. This is NBC's big bet this year. This is us. This is NBC's like, you know, they are really going for it. They want a massive hit. And this trailer, I never have I seen a trailer try harder to make the audience cry. This is just, it's really like going for the jugular, pulling those heartstrings, really trying to just grab the audience. And based on those 7.5 million views, I think it might work.
And that's exactly it. I mean, just aside from the cast that is essentially led by Mandy Moore, I don't know, it kind of looks like it has the perfect formula to work, and that it's very funny, it's poignant, and at the end of the day, everyone is just looking for, I think, that really heartwarming kind of dramedy that they can just sit down and watch and feel everything. And with this, you're going to be feeling a lot of things. Yeah. So, yeah. No, it's going to be a thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is an obligatory thumbs up from you.
I feel like it needs to be.
This is on the fence for me. This is I will say, not my genre. The sort of what I would describe as the feels genre. This is not exactly it. I'm not super interested in these people's lives, but I could see myself just sort of appreciating the show, if not necessarily like really enjoying it. So I'm going to give it like a thumbs up. This could very well be like the objectively best show to premiere this fall, and I don't want to be the idiot that gave it a thumbs down. So that's really what I'm sort of angling for.
We have some angry YouTubers coming after you.
Yeah, I'm worried about the mob mentality. All right, our final drama of NBC is also on YouTube with 6.7 million views. So the few trailers that NBC did post did very well YouTube wise. If only they had posted more. This one's called Timeless, and it's from the dudes behind Supernatural, The Shield, The Blacklist. It's a time travel thriller about catching a criminal who is traveling through time to try to destroy America by destroying his past. And no, this is not the Jack the Ripper show that we talked about a couple days ago.
Few things can be, though. So.
True. What do you think about this one?
I want to be on board with this. I really do, but it looked really cheesy and cliche, and that's such a shame because I'm a huge Supernatural fan, and I love Eric Kripke, and I have faith in most of what he does, but I think this isn't going to be the big project.
We're finally going to disagree. I am all in on Timeless.
Oh my god.
Yes.
No.
Yes. I got good vibes from this one. I feel something good about this one as like the kind of action show that I like. It isn't as like patently absurd as the Jack the Ripper one, where it was just like clear that was a comedy. This one is taking itself a little more seriously, which can be good or bad. But I thought this trailer was okay, not great, but I'm kind of a sucker for the sort of light supernatural, like light sci-fi, where it's not, you know, we're not living in a fantasy world, we're not living in space, but we do have like supernaturally elements. That's kind of right in my wheelhouse. So I'm pretty excited about this one. I think this one might be a lot of fun, if nothing else.
I think so, and I think my problem was, like, I got the vibe that it took itself extremely seriously. Yeah. I kind of wish it didn't, because I feel like with the time travel kind of genre and that kind of idea, it can get really, really, like, cliche and really, really tropey extremely fast. So I think the new spin to put on it is that you play up that cliche and that you kind of embrace the absurdity. And I think with this, I just didn't get that. Yeah. And I kind of wanted to see a little bit more of that.
It is absolutely not embracing the absurdity. This is. I'm sure it's a show that will have jokes. I don't think this is going to be a deathly serious show, but it is absolutely overall a serious show. Like, this is not an unintentional comedy show. At least it's not intending to be. We'll see how it actually goes. But the other thing that I like, that I'm a real sucker for, is people interacting with historical events, which the show promises a ton of. Like, I really like the idea of just sort of dropping in on the day the Hindenburg crashes. Like, you just, like, which is what happens in this trailer. Like, there's just, I don't know, like, that's kind of one of my subgenres. So, yeah, there's a lot going here, that really has more to do with the premise than what I actually thought of the trailer, but this one's a thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a thumb sideways, because Eric Kripke's name is attached to it. I want to see what happens and see if the show at least deviates from what the trailer put out.
That's right. Okay, let's get into the comedies.
Yes. Okay, so that brings us to The Good Place. So arguably, this is going to be my number one most anticipated show of the pilot season. So we have Kristen Bell, who plays a woman who realizes she's not a very good person and tries to make up for it with help from Ted Danson.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm so excited for the show.
And, well, we should also mention, this is from Mike Schur, the creator and showrunner of Parks and Rec.
Yes.
Which is why I'm excited about it. I'll pretty much follow that guy into a fire. So, yeah, I mean, it's a, the trailer's a bit of a thinker. It's a bit like muddled storytelling wise, which is not a surprise to me because Parks and Rec started pretty bad. Mm-hmm. This one, I think, is gonna have some struggles to start with, because The Office also started kind of bad. At least the very first episode of The Office was bad, and Mike Schur was involved in that. Like, I feel like a show like this is going to ultimately find itself when it calibrates all the characters to play off each other well, which is what Parks and Rec did with the Leslie Knope character. It took them about 5 episodes to find that character, and I suspect that the Kristen Bell character is going to have to be tuned a bit. She's a little bit like abrasive in this pilot in a way that it wasn't especially charming, and she is a very charming actress, and I think that they're going to have to figure out a way to allow that charm to exist within this character. Ted Ted Danson didn't have a big role in this trailer. I think that he is a presence that I am very, very much looking forward to on this show, and as the sort of Ron Swanson kind of character. And so I'm very much looking forward to him, and I have so much faith in this one. Even though I don't think this trailer was especially good, I think this show has so much potential if NBC sticks with it.
And that's exactly how I'm feeling in this. I'm not going to lie, I did watch the trailer like 2 or 3 times. Exactly. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure because it didn't fit what I thought was going on in the description. So I wanted to get, a feel for what was going on. But I mean, I'm a huge Kristen Bell fan, obviously a huge Parks and Rec fan. And this is also from the creator of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which I'm also a huge fan of. So, I mean, you have a creator who's really, really, adept at not only creating a show that people are going to watch, but also sustaining it. So I think this show is going to be something really, really interesting and special.
Yeah, this is one that I would advise patience with. I think for again, a single cam like this that has that's going to rely a lot on falling in love with its characters, I would just give this one some rope, let it figure itself out. Because when it does, I really think this one's I think it's going to work, but it might take a little bit of a while. Our next show is called Great News. Which is hard to Google, by the way, because you just get a bunch of great news, headlines. It's a single cam comedy produced by Tina Fey, Robert Carlock, David Miner, all names that comedy people know. It involves an up-and-coming news producer whose mom gets a job working as an intern at her station. What do you think about this one?
Again, I really, really, really wish there was a trailer out, but...
I found one for this one as well. Again, bootlegged.
Oh my god.
Deep Googling.
Exactly. You went down the Google rabbit hole.
I had to look up Alta Vista. I had to go Alta Vista for this one.
Oh my god. Kick it back in time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm on board with really anything that Tina Fey and Robert Carlock put out there. So just those names alone already have me on board without knowing much else about what the characters are like or what the tone of the show is.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically about a mother-daughter relationship. The mother has boundary issues. She is, sort of over-involved in her daughter's life, having now being the intern at the station. The daughter, of course, sort of resents that and is dreading it. But, of course, every episode's going to end with the mother kind of saving the day and the daughter learning something about herself and her relationship with her mom. It's very sort of paint by numbers in that regard. But just based on who's behind the show, I gotta give it, I don't think this trailer was especially good, but I kind of just gotta go with the people who are making the show and give it a thumbs up.
Exactly. No, I'm definitely on board with that. So it's going to be a thumbs up for me too.
I'm sure this next show will be a thumbs up for you as well.
Oh, obviously. So this one is Marlon, and it's Marlon Wayans, who's also one of the executive producers, and he plays a divorced father of 2 kids who's committed to working with his ex to raise their kids even as he needs to grow up a little himself. No.
First of all, congratulations to Marlon Wayans for getting a show in 2016. He got a network show greenlit and made. That is legitimately an accomplishment for a guy who has not been in that much lately. So, good for him. Having said that, the trailer is just a lot of yelling. Just a lot of yell comedy. I just don't know if I need it. I just don't know, do I want to bring this into my life? I think the answer is no.
Yeah, and again, this is coming just not having seen a trailer for anything, but I'm getting really skeptical about any of those semi-autobiographical sitcom styles, or essentially where the actor, who more often than not will serve as the executive producer, essentially plays an altered version of themselves. I can't get on board with it. It's just, it so rarely works out, and I don't know, it's just it's getting tired at this point.
I mean, that genre that you described has about a 5% success rate. Unfortunately, or fortunately, but maybe in the grander context, unfortunately, Carmichael might have thrown off the curve, which is an extremely successful show creatively and a successful commercial show, I think. And that may have given NBC a little too much confidence that this genre is actually like experiencing some kind of revival. The semi-autobiographical show named after the star with the multicam sitcom. It's a genre. It's not a good genre, but it occasionally works. And this one, I've seen the trailer. This one doesn't work. so this is a thumbs down for me.
Yeah, it's safe to say it's a thumb down for me too.
All right, our next show is set in the DC universe. Oh, you know how I love the DC universe.
Yeah.
It is a comedy that is not about superheroes. Rather, it's about an insurance claims adjuster who is working in the world of superheroes and villains. It's called Powerless. What did you think?
Oh my god, I'm so excited for the show. Not just because of everybody on board. It's so nice to see Danny Pudi back on the screen after Community. Alan Tudyk, as always. Vanessa Hudgens. She's, I think going to be a really, really interesting choice as the lead. And I think because it's coming at just the right time with like the release of Suicide Squad and everything that's been happening in the DC universe now being adapted for either film or television. But this essentially takes all of that and puts a really, really fresh take on all of the superhero tropes that we're now being just flooded with. I'm so excited for this show.
Yeah, I love the idea of this show more than I love this trailer, but I love the idea so very much. I mean, especially with DC, we have to start injecting humor into these worlds. And I'm not talking about the stupid jokes, and I don't want to get too deep into this because I feel passionately about this, but I don't want to get too deep into the sort of subgenre of superhero jokes that exist in superhero movies where they're all like self-referential and I am very excited to see a show take a different look at the whole superhero thing. And this is, I think, going to, in a lot of ways, be a commentary on that. A lot of commentary on these universes that now, even when, like, an objectively terrible movie like Suicide Squad is released, people feel so obligated to see it. Like, they know it's terrible, they're not looking forward to it, but they go see it anyway. Like, that's the hold that these superheroes have on us now.
Oh, it's ridiculous. That's their superpower.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's the superpower. So we need to start, like, doing more. Like, if that's now the new normal, if that's the world we're living in now, we need to at least start doing more interesting things with it. Like, we can't just pump out 20 superhero movies a year and everyone feels obligated to see every single one of them. That can't be how life works. So I'm excited about the idea of going in a bit of a different direction and making a single cam sitcom, basically a workplace comedy about insurance adjusters who just happen to live in the superhero world. I'm very excited about that. I thought the trailer was fine. I didn't think it was bad. I'm going to be interested in how this show makes itself funny, which is my main concern. Is it going to be one of those comedies that isn't funny? But overall, it's a thumbs up for me. I'm excited it exists.
Exactly. I'm 100% on board with that.
Last show.
Oh, we made it.
We did. We're almost there. We're crawling over the finish line.
Oh my gosh. All right. So our last one is called Trial and Error. It's a young lawyer who defends an eccentric college professor, played by John Lithgow, in a murder case in this comedic take on the prevalence of true crime documentaries.
Yeah.
So this was another one I couldn't find a trailer for.
Oh, Olivia, you got to work on your Google Foo.
I know. It's not technologically savvy,
or you're not willing to go to websites that might give your computer viruses, which is what I define these.
Entire computer to just crash and burn.
Yeah, most of these trailers I find on websites that were not in English. so
went down the deep dark web.
Yeah, I went dark web for these trailers, but that's the commitment I have to this podcast.
There you go. I need to get on board. Game.
I'm fascinated by this one. I think it's a very interesting. It's a mockumentary, so it's sort of like The Office style, where I suspect there's going to be like talking head interviews where the characters talk directly to camera. It's John Lithgow, obviously a delight. Having John Lithgow on the screen is great. Having him back in a sitcom is great. It seems like a very interesting answer to the sort of serial wave that serial spawned of true crime. That doesn't seem to be like I don't think it's like it's not like a searing criticism of that genre. It's just like taking a fun look at it through a sort of cast of wacky characters. But there's also like a case that runs throughout it where the lawyers are trying to gather information to exonerate John Lithgow. So I am very interested in this show. I think this one might be a very funny, very interesting kind of comedy.
And that's kind of what I'm feeling right now, just even based off of the description, having not seen anything about the show other than just like a brief summary. I'm on board with anything with John Lithgow, so that's just like an automatic thumbs up. But I like that idea of the show having that self-awareness about it, but then also kind of, spoofing really, again, common tropes in a certain genre. So in this case, it's the true crime documentaries. So any show that's able to do that and do it well is something that I absolutely want to see.
Absolutely. So you're gonna give this one a thumbs up?
This is gonna be a thumbs up for me. All
right. So now we play our last game, and I have a little bit of twist on this one, but we'll do the normal game first. NBC shows, which one is going to get a second season? What's going to be the most successful? What's the hit? What's the hit here, Olivia?
In a really weird way, I feel like it's going to be The Good Place.
Interesting. Really? That is so optimistic.
Honestly, it's because of Mike Schur, because I think having a show like Parks and Rec, where yes, it took a little bit to find its groove, and same thing with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but you have two of those shows that maybe had a bumpy start, but once they really, really found their groove, not only did they, have a really dedicated audience watching, but, they're now spanning 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. So I think this has a good chance of being a show like that.
Yeah, although I will say Parks and Rec was never especially well rated. So
yeah,
it made it a long ways, no doubt about it. It was extremely successful. It was kind of always holding on for its life. I'm going to take the obvious choice, which is This Is Us. I'm going to say that's the one. And I mean, the thing is, like, it's probably not going to run for like 7 seasons, like a show like, like The Good Place might. But in terms of like being a hit and being at the center of the conversation, I feel like that is probably the best bet here. What is your first NBC show canceled?
Oh, it has to be Marlon.
Oh, it has to be Marlon.
It has to be Marlon. There's just no doubt about it.
Because you took that.
I know, I'm sorry.
You can't give it back. I'm going to say Taken. I think
absolutely.
I'm not on board with this sort of bland remaking of recent movies as like nothing TV shows. So I'm going to go Taken. Okay, here we go. So we have previewed now every single new show premiering in the 2016-2017 television season. I want you, Olivia, I'll give you a chance to get your notes out if you have notes.
Okay.
Worth 5 times the imaginary points, the biggest hit of the season of all the new shows that we talked about.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm not talking about multiple seasons. I'm talking about what show is going to capture like the zeitgeist. What show is going to hit it? What show is going to be like the Empire? Like that kind of show where like everyone's tweeting about it. It's doing big ratings. What's that show from this entire slate that we've looked at? And I can edit out pauses from the podcast if you need time to think about this.
I mean, just going off of, I think it's probably going to be This Is Us.
Okay. Yeah, that's...
just based off of the YouTube views alone and the amount of coverage that the trailer has gotten and the cast that's backing it, I think that has a really, really strong chance of being the big fall 2016 pilot.
Yeah. I think that's probably the right choice. I'm going to talk my way through it because I don't have an answer. This Is Us is a good entry. It probably, honestly, probably the right choice for this. So one of the ones I'm thinking about is Designated Survivor, the Kiefer Sutherland show. I think that Fox is giving that one a huge push media-wise. It's got over 2 million YouTube views. I think that one might do something, but then it also, like, it has no supernatural element, it has no musical element, like, there's no, generally, like, the internet is taken over by, like, either, you know, some kind of sci-fi or fantasy or music, or, like, in the case of Scandal, like a really, like, dramatic show.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit too straightforward. This might have been a mistake. I might just have to go with the same one you did. I might have to go with I would have to go with This Is Us. It just seems obvious, right? It's got 7.5 million views on YouTube. How is that, like, that's like, on versus any other network, that's like 3 times as many as the next highest. So
it's crazy. And, like, if you're, you know, a Hulu subscriber, like, you know, you're used to a YouTube, you know, anytime that you're on any kind of video streaming device, that's like the trailer that you're going to be hit with.
Yeah. Just
repeatedly. So they're really, you know, just kind of getting it into your subconscious that you're going to be, you know, going to be watching the show.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to cheat. 2 honorable mentions. The Exorcist, I think, could hit because it looks good. So. Right? That looks good. And then Son of Zorn also, I feel like could, if that captures the sort of people who like cartoons, I think that could really, like, do something, because that looks really funny. It could be like kind of like an Anchorman style thing where, like, everyone is quoting it, I feel like. So that's that. Okay, yeah. I'm not gonna cheat. I'm gonna go with Son of Zorn. I'm gonna say Son of Zorn is
that was left field.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go ratings wise. It's obviously not gonna have, like, massive ratings. It's a half-hour comedy. But in terms of, like, getting the internet talking, and people, like, just pop culture recognition, I'm gonna say Son of Zorn.
You know, I definitely see that.
Yeah, it just seems like it might like hit in that way. Okay, so we have to do the other side now. The very first show canceled this fall.
Oh God.
Very first.
Oh, there's so many.
I know. I want to cancel 3/4 of these right now.
Oh my God. All right. Give me a sec.
Yeah, I know. We're working this one out.
Yeah, I'm like...
I mean, I have mine.
Okay. All right.
I swear, if you say my show.
All right, so I'm gonna throw it out there. I think it's gonna be Kevin Can Wait.
Oh, you didn't say it, thankfully.
What was yours?
Notorious.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fair.
So why has America in 2016 soured on Kevin James, Olivia?
Why haven't they? Like, in all honesty, it's just so generic and so unnecessary, and no, just this is something that I can't imagine anybody having enough self-respect with themselves to sit down and watch this.
Yeah.
Just no.
Look, my favorite thing about you is your optimism and your belief in this country.
I know. It's all I have left, okay?
I know. That you are willing to think that a sitcom starring Kevin James, a multicam sitcom starring Kevin James is not going to succeed. Yeah, I feel like that show is going to get a second season. But I'm so glad that you chose it, just because it's a vision of America that I want to live in. Notorious, I chose for the obvious reason that it has 25,000 YouTube views, the lowest of any show we looked at. I fell asleep while reading the premise. It could not possibly... It's a show about lawyers and, like, the relationship between lawyers and the media, and whoops, I fell asleep again. I mean, it might... Whether or not it's good is kind of aside the point. I just can't imagine anyone watching it. I just can't imagine it. So, that's my choice.
I think that's a really, really good choice, and that's a good point.
All right. So, you have been listening to the last of our Pilot Roundtable Network Pilot Previews, a TVBinges.com and Southgate Media Group production. You can listen to all of our episodes on iTunes, where you can rate and review us. We'd appreciate that. Or find us at SouthgateMediaGroup.com. Follow Olivia on Twitter at RichardsOlivia, and me on Twitter at KyleLovesTV. Until next time.